Right, little bonus episode here, just on the theme of how ugly the market, to me, looks at it can be at the moment. Right, just going to look at a few things. So first up, this on a linear scale, right? So I'm doing that just because it just exaggerates a few things, right? This move is, as they say, parabolic, right? The last time we had one of those little parabolic moves, when we look at it, was here, right? So let's go back and look at this chart here, right? That move looks remarkably similar to that move, doesn't it? Right? You see what I mean? And that one, it's up 10, 15 fold or whatever, right? You see how it's got a lot of thin air up here, no real retracements, right? Just a lot of thin air. And here, same thing, a lot of thin in there. And of course, what happened afterwards? This was the, of course, the .com, thing. 46%. That was that one. Where does 46% take us? Oh my God. Right. So we're in a very, very precarious situation. These vertical moves, they only end in one way, which is they fill these big gaps that they've created. That's the way they end, right? Normally all of it, not all of it, this time I didn't do all of it, but it did a hell of a lot of it, didn't it, right? I guess if it had filled all of it, right, would have been down like 70%, right? But it certainly had a good stab, right? And it took a long time to recover. Let's go back to like the non-cheating kind of scale. So that's the territory that we're in. So that's one thing, right, that I'm looking at going, oh my God, this is scary stuff. I did a video right at the beginning of the year where I talked about that. Another one, right? Let's just look at these. This is the Bollinger. I used to, when I was working at the bank, traded options. So, things like Bollinger Bands and, the standard deviations and things, they're kind of my friends. Just look at, these crashes. They come back to the bottom of the Bollinger Band, right? I'm not talking about the bottom down here. You've kind of got to look at it, like for like at this point, they kind of come down to the Bollinger Band, and then they push it further. This one came down to the bottom of the Bollinger Band. These ones, bottom of the band, this one, bottom of the band, this one, bottom of the band. 87 didn't. Came close though, very close, right? These ones, even back in the 70s, come to the bottom of the Bollinger Band. It just hits the bottom all the time when there's corrections. It just keeps touching the bottom, right? Look at where the bottom of the Bollinger Band is at the moment. It's like, Jesus Christ. From the high to there, that's 35%, right? That's the kind of volatility that we've got, right? So for it to come down like this, 3,000 level, which when you think about it, right, that's just the pre-COVID high. That's not that long ago, right? Sounds a hell of a lot, right? But it's not, right? You just look on where these lines kind of turn up. Jesus, that looks a really compelling level for it to come back to, doesn't it? It certainly does to me. So, and I don't know, when we look at the old, the nice linear parabola, that to me does fill in, fill in that gap there quite nicely, similar to what happened here. So I'm really looking. I am been struggling to find anything that really says to me this market is a buy at the moment. I'm increasingly thinking it's not just a mild sell. It's not just a be aware. It's almost like a strong sell. I say that with bit of hesitation. Yeah, the other one that I'm going to look at here, these are just a few technical indicators. Like a moving average. I'm not a big user of moving averages, but they can really, they're quite informative. This is a 30-day moving average on it's on the S&P, and you can see how it reliably touches these things. It has a correction. There's the taper tantrum one. It goes through. This is the one at the end of 2018. Like it goes through, has a hang, and then has a bit of a drop. This is obviously the COVID one. Now you can see we've just dropped below that, right? With a big, strong, bearish candle, right? We've seen those big, strong, bearish candles, like that one there, right? We've seen one there. We've seen one here. We've seen one here. We didn't actually see one here. But when we look at the moves there, that was 20%. This one, of course, we know is like much bigger, 35%. These strong bearish candles, they are not good omens. See one there, right? How did it go? Like from the high to there, 15%. It's a little one, right? But I guess one of the differences is on the way up, I guess it was a lot more did hug it a lot more. Whereas here you can see there's a lot more white space in there in terms of it just, really being substantially over the average for a long time. Here it's above the average because it's going up, right? But you can see in all of these things, there's all these touches here when it comes back to the average. Here it just has not come back to the average. And that's reflected, that's to me why it's helpful to look at the Bollinger Bands on these things as well. So I think that's really all I was going to cover in this one. When you look at this market over the long term, using those monthlies and weeklies, it's looking potentially disastrous, right? Really concerning stuff. I can't think of any good reason at the moment why it would rally back to these highs, with the Fed about to raise rates, with inflation where it is, with the Russell having rolled over, with some of the big tech darlings totally rolled over. There's some market breadth indicators out there which are looking frankly horrible. To me, that level in there, that 3,500, that to me is looking increasingly, really like at the target. I think when I looked at the monthly, that was roughly where I had it as well. Actually, it was even further, down to 38. Yeah, to me, being a betting man, which I am, I had been thinking it's this kind of range is more something like that. The more I look at it, the more I'm thinking that's the risk zone. This to me just looks like absolute fresh air for it to fall into. And the first time you start getting some real interest in the price action is back here, right? Around that 3,200, 3,500 level. It's looking pretty scary. Look, that's about it for today. Just a little quick one to subsidise the other one earlier. Okay, ciao.